Hi everyone and welcome to week 3. Here is your instruction video. I hope you are enjoying some of the assignments. You got to learn a little bit about science safety and the nature of science, and hopefully that is helping you to just get a foundation for, why is it important to teach science? Science is a way of knowing, and how do we keep students safe while doing science? So we're going to move on to kind of some structure in terms of how do you teach science. And so many of you described in your initial science identity reflections that, I'm not really very confident. I didn't have a lot of experience doing teaching science, or I have no experience teaching science. And so we're going to start with some frameworks that research has shown provide strategies and approaches to teaching science that are most effective. And so this week you're going to be looking at one of those models. It's called the 5E instructional model, and it kind of guides you in creating an inquiry-based science unit. And we're also going to talk about inquiry and why is that approach to teaching science more effective. And you'll be doing some exploring on your own. So there are some resources here that you're going to be looking at, as well as these. These will help you to complete the 2 activities or assignments that you have to do this week. So really, all of these resources in week 3, you should actually read and do a good job of skimming them. They're mostly pretty short. There's also, I think, a video that kind of overviews the 5E, and we'll be talking a lot more about that because that's the model you're going to use to design some lessons going forward. So your first assignment is going to be to, again, read and listen and watch the resources. And then I would start with the actual inquiry discussion forum. In fact, I might actually move that ahead just so you know, and do that one first. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to provide a description or a definition of inquiry based on the resources you read. I don't want your opinion of what inquiry is. I want you to support your definition with information from the research that you have looked at this week. So it should be supported by some of the articles and the reading you did. And that does not mean you need to cite the reading, but you can actually say, according to so-and-so, inquiry, or the research shows that inquiry includes these things. So make sure you're basing it on the reading and not just on your own opinion of what inquiry is. I hear a lot of inquiry is hands-on. So just heads up that inquiry does not necessarily mean that students are doing hands-on activities. So while that is often a component, they don't mean the same thing. And so just by saying or defining inquiry as hands-on activities, you will have missed a big part of what inquiry is. So having said that, in this discussion, you're first going to post your description, and then you're going to actually going to your textbook, you're going to choose a project learning tree activity out of the book, and you're going to describe how that activity or that lesson includes inquiry. And so you'll have to have a good definition, and then look at some of the activities and just talk about what are the pieces in that activity that promote inquiry. So your initial response is due on January 29th, and your responses to 2 classmates is due 2 days later on the 31st. So make sure you read and respond to 2 of your classmates for this discussion. So after you complete that, that will prepare you for the other assignment, which is the overview activity. And so this is linked here. It's also, if you haven't accessed our Google Drive, it's also linked in the Google Drive, which might be helpful because there is a table for you to complete as part of the assignment that you might want to access it here. So if you use the template, please make sure to make a copy of it and not overwrite the master copy that I have here. So the instructions say that you're going to create an activity. So you're designing your own activity now that addresses all 5Es. So you can actually use one of the PLT activities as the foundation for your activity, and then just identify how you're going to include each of the 5Es. Some of the activities, or probably most of the project learning tree activities, will have most of these things, if not all of them. But in some cases, you might have to actually figure out what part goes to which. They aren't actually described in terms of, oh, how do you engage students? How do you elaborate? How do you explain? So you're going to have to take the activity and kind of identify these parts in it. And if there is any missing parts, to add in a description of how you would modify the activity to include that. So I have provided an example of one of the project learning tree activities used to be called Birds and Worms. I think it's actually has a little different name in the new version, but it actually talks about, and I've showed you how to describe it using the 5Es. And so it's an example for you to use as a guide, and then here is the blank template for you to use for describing your own activity. Now, you're going to need to know what the 5Es are, and so that's why it's really important that you review the resources on our Canvas site before doing this assignment. This actual resource goes into detail about, okay, so for the engage phase, these are the kinds of things that the teacher should be doing, and this is what the student should be doing. So this will help you, and maybe would be good to print out as you're designing your activity. So lastly, this activity can be completed in pairs. So if you know somebody in the class, or you would like to get to know somebody and work with them on this assignment, you're welcome to reach out on your own to that person. If you do work with a partner, you need to make sure to put both of your names on the top of the submission, so I know that you have partnered up. And both of these assignments are due on January 29th. So if you look at our to-do list linked here on Canvas, it outlines that information. And actually, I updated this to include the responses. So let me actually pull up the right one. So make sure you responded to classmates, and that you turn in your assignment by the 29th. So that's it for this week. Hope you have an interest and interesting and fruitful week looking at inquiry and a particular model, instructional model, that supports inquiry in the 5E model. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'll just remind you as we get into more detailed work, if you have any questions, or you're unsure, or you just want to run something by me, you can sign up for office hours here. You can also email me, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. So good luck with the assignments, and I will see you next week.